right, everybody, welcome to Nerds of a Certain Vintage. As always, I'm Patrick.
And I am Andy.
And we are here for our midweek adjacent.
We're warmed up.
For Friday, July 5th.
Yeah, we do the midweek minute and the midweek adjacent. We take them one right after the other. So I get a little lit before the midweek adjacent,
yes,
which is good.
Yes. I am all up on the old duels.
That's doing dry something again.
Dry July.
Dry July.
Dry July.
I don't know why you do dry
I think I'm
stuff.
going to do, but I did think I'm going to go with the NAs this month. I think that the taste of a beer is a good thing.
Fuck off. Dude, you're killing me with that.
Maybe I'll mix it in with some grass jelly.
Can you
jelly grass.
at least do what they call them, depth charges, where you have a non-alcoholic, you put a shot of bourbon in it?
Okay.
Maybe. Why not?
Sure.
Just something to light you up a little bit.
Yeah, I need to be litten up.
No.
All right, so
that's fine.
We got to do this quick. This is our midweek.
It's 4th of July, and Pat has things to do.
I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
So this is what are we watching?
Mm-hmm.
I'll start by just saying I have watched a shit ton of Psych.
You're rolling through the Psych.
I am already deep into season 6.
We talked about this, but I never remember how many seasons of Psych are there.
There's like 8 seasons and 3 movies.
And how many episodes per season on USA?
Like 16.
Okay, so it's not a full 24 like network. Okay, that's a little better. Yeah. But still, that's a lot of episodes. And what season you on?
Season 6.
All right, you're
about halfway through season 6.
And then you have like the movies came after the season started, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And so the thing I'm enjoying most about it, and I've already talked about the things I don't really like about Psych. The things I like most are the stunt casting.
Have you really discussed that? Let's go over that again. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, for my mother. How about we describe what I don't like about Psych?
So the next time we go to a Comic-Con that they have their panel, they can be like, "Oh, you remember that Pat guy? Here, let's go through what all he doesn't like about our show."
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd like, of course, my biggest concern with Psych is always that, like, if the bad guy just shut up and didn't say anything,
he'd never get caught. Yeah, that's half these shows. That's half of them, yeah.
You're sitting there and you're like, seriously, all you have is a tape measure, and that's all you got?
This is the trope in these types of procedurals, is that at the end they just are like, oh, you got me. Here, let me explain my entire, like...
Oh, you got me monologuing, son!
Exactly.
So stupid. So dumb. But the thing
you were close. That's a Brooklyn Nine-Nine bit.
Yeah.
Quiet. I'm about to monologue, son. Yeah. That's the bit with Sterling K. Brown. That's a great bit.
Yeah. But
sorry, nerding out about the 99. 99.
99. No, they had it was in
well, no, it was in The Incredibles.
The Incredibles,
but he doesn't say son. He's like, oh, you got me monologuing. Right, but there's a bit in Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Peralta busts in to the interrogation room, and Sterling K. Brown is this like dentist killer, and he's going to get away with it. They have
a limited amount of time.
He's going to get away with it, right? And he's like, you don't have anything. He's like, quiet, I'm about to monologue, son. and then he rolls through. It's a great. Go back and watch it. You'll love it. Yeah.
Listen, like we gotta extol the virtues of.
What are we watching? I'm watching YouTube videos of the best parts of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, the cold opens.
Yeah, the cold opens.
45 minutes of just cold opens.
That wasn't a cold open, but it was still a great bit. Yeah.
But the thing I'm really enjoying about Psych, the stunt casting. They have stunt casting on all these episodes. Like, it's so funny. Like, they've got the one where they, like, the mystery is they think it might actually be a vampire. These guys are always thinking like it's the most.
Before we go on,
stuff.
Explain to me what stunt casting is.
It's where you bring in somebody, like a famous person.
Right.
And normally in these shows, you look at it and you're like, who's the famous person? They're the bad
He's
guy.
the killer because we've talked about this is TV detective logic because you're not going to hire Emilio Estevez to be a 3-second pizza delivery guy.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
But in this show, they actually got away from that by, like, they do stunt casting all the time, and they don't have them as the bad guy. But I
didn't catch that. I have to go back and watch those episodes.
There's one episode, I don't know if it's at the end of season 5 or early.
That's a great way to throw off the audience because you're expecting Lou Diamond Phillips to be the killer because he's the taxi driver, but he ends up not being anybody really. Yeah. He's just there.
So there's an episode where they're finding dead bodies that have all their blood drained from them, and of course, Sean and Gus, their first they see
vampires.
They see puncture wounds on their necks and on their arms, and they're like, vampires. It becomes this whole thing. And during that show, one of the love interests for
for Sean. For Jules. For Lassie.
For Lassie.
I had to get to him sooner or later. I was going to be Henry next. I mean, how many people you got, right?
One of the love interests was Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, yeah.
Who was...
From Cocktail.
No, it wasn't Elizabeth Shue. It was Buffy, the original movie Buffy.
Oh, yeah. Swanson.
Yeah, Christy Swanson. She was one of the love interests.
Man, how the fuck did I pull that on my nerd brain?
I don't know. But, so it's that kind of thing. And they talk about how she's supposed to be a bad guy.
Right.
And I've gotten used to the point where, if there's a theme to the show, then, there's going to be a stunt casting somewhere along the way. And so I'm thinking, oh, this is cool. They got Christy Swanson, who was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
You're going down that whole nerd filmography. Yeah.
And so they go to this bar, and it's Gus and Sean. They're going way over the top. They dress up like Interview with a Vampire.
So she's playing Christy Swanson. She's playing herself.
No, she's playing just a woman.
Okay.
But yeah.
I see what you're saying. She's on there because they think vampires are the killers. Okay.
Yeah, because thematically it matches.
Yeah, exactly.
You get somebody who played one of the famous vampire hunters.
Right.
And so they think she might be the bad guy, but then they're not. And of course, Lassie is in love with her and all of this stuff.
And so, why wouldn't you be, man? Why wouldn't you be?
And so they go to this bar, and they go up to the bar, and of course, Jules is there just as a cop.
Right.
But Sean and Gus are completely dressed up. Sean looks like Lestat.
Okay.
He's got the long hair and he's got the fangs, and he's but it's like a vampire bar. It's like where
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's like where dummies who think they're vampires go to play act.
Right.
And Gus is dressed up as Blackula.
Don't what do you call it? Yuck or yum? I mean, that's their kink. Yeah, kink shame.
So he's dressed up like Lestat, and Gus is dressed up like Blackula, and everybody keeps calling him Count Chocula. And so they're laughing, and so they go up to the bartender, and the bartender's looking away, and they're like, "Hey, you, buddy, turn around!" And it ends up being Corey Feldman.
Oh, Corey Feldman. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Corey
of course, another bit of stunt casting because he was from Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And so it becomes this whole thing.
Famous vampire hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm totally
one
kind
of the Frog Brothers.
Yeah, and and invariably they'll have them say a famous line or something.
Right.
There's another one where it's a baseball thing, and they've got Danny Glover.
Oh, okay.
He's playing the manager for some AAA team that they have to get into, and there's some deaths, and Danny Glover's just sitting there, and he's like, something goes wrong, and he's like, I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the line.
Of course,
that's the line.
So they'll weave those little things in, and I'm like, that's keeping me going because I'm totally digging. All right, what's the thing for this week?
I think the thing about that show that made it so fun and why it's such a cult show that people love is that they didn't take themselves too seriously. It's like a lot of shows where the writing it seems just kind of standard and procedural as you get going, but as they start to find jokes and running jokes, they start to embrace them, and then they start to just go completely off book. And it worked. It worked as time went on better and better because they started doing, as you say, the stunt casting. Is that a technical term? Where does that come from?
I don't know.
That's something that you came up with? Did you?
I don't think I came up with that. I think
stunt casting.
Yeah. Let me see if there is a definition. Stunt casting. Stunt casting definition. The casting of a very famous actor or other celebrity as a guest star in a movie or TV show in order to garner publicity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Got it. I'd not heard of that before.
Yeah. So
I like this podcast because I learn things.
You learn things.
Yeah.
Well,
they're not valuable things.
I know things.
They're not helpful things, but I learn them.
Yeah, didn't I introduce you to retconning too?
Yes, I think you did. I didn't know what retconning was. Yeah.
So yeah, Psych. I've watched like.
I didn't actually know what the term MacGuffin meant until the podcast. Yeah, I'd heard it, but I didn't actually know necessarily what it meant.
Yeah, that's one of those things. I'm not sure I knew what it meant either until.
Oh, and tachyon emitters. I had no idea. Phase inverters. Was not sure.
I knew exactly what phase.
Well, you did. Were. That's why you explained them to me. Now, tachyon emitters, I had a pretty good concept of.
Yeah, tachyon. It's all about time.
Well, I mean, you can't have a starship that does warp drive unless you have tachyon emitters.
Of course.
Yes. Because it's tachyon's all the way down. All the way down.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's what those turtles stand on.
The turtles on the tachyon.
Yeah, exactly.
So what else? What have you been watching?
I want to talk about Eraserhead a little bit.
Okay.
Because that's what we watched on our final cult movie.
Yes. You have other things you want to say.
June. No, we talked a little bit about what makes a film art or not art or various things, and this movie has haunted me a little bit. I keep thinking about it, and I think I kind of realize why it has the effect that it has on people, and why it was such a huge cult film. Because I feel like David Lynch has this ability to kind of listen to his unconscious side a little bit better. So, like, I think there's a very conscious thing that goes on in that movie. When they talk about it, it's sort of expressive of his fear of fatherhood.
Yeah.
That's writ large all over this movie.
Yeah.
But there are elements of it that have meaning that I don't know that are entirely conscious of his. And, because we watched...
Well, I don't think it could possibly be. Like, nobody... Well, but I can't imagine that David Lynch is like, this makes perfect sense to me.
Well, this is the thing. This is what I feel like, is I feel like you have those three aspects of with id, ego, and superego, right? And I think there's the conscious part, and then there's the unconscious part, which he kind of has a line on, and then there's a part that things occur to him that he doesn't have the slightest idea, and he still puts them in there. Yeah. And so I think when you watch it, there's such
what's that worm? What's that represent?
That's what I mean, and obviously the plant planted in dirt just on the dresser, and the pile of
hair.
I don't know what that
garbage.
Is. Yeah, and whatever is around the furnace, which seems like a fire.
It looked like twigs and stuff.
I know. Yeah, it looked like almost like vines, like somebody pulled vines out of the woods and put them on top of the thing. And there's just all this. So if I watch it and I think about it in the context of the fear of fatherhood and all of this stuff, the mutant baby, when the baby gets sick and he takes care of it with the little steam thing, and it gets better. And then he has this little flame with
a little Vicks Vapor Rub on his little chest.
Exactly. On his mutant chest. Yeah. If
that feels like part of the neck.
Yeah.
Like, where's the chest start?
On the bandage that covers his lungs and heart, kind of thing.
It keeps him bound together.
Yeah. But the thing that always... I'm thinking about these various aspects. I'm like, I kind of get it. But then you have the radiator and the little stage and the woman with the swollen cheeks dancing and then stepping on the little umbilical sperm things. And I'm just like, that makes no sense. Like, that has nothing.
And the actual the pencil making at the end, like, I'm thinking, what does that have to do with
That's what I mean. I think
the absurdity of it is.
Well, I think the aspect of David Lynch films that keep drawing you in is that part of it makes absolute sense. Part of it.
So you think it should make sense? Like, all of it should make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it runs that id, ego, and superego line where you have or conscious, unconscious, and some third thing that I don't know because I don't know psychology. But there's the part that
super conscious,
or super unconscious.
Yes, you're so conscious.
Yeah,
you're no longer
there's the conscious, the unconscious, and then there's just instinct. I don't know what it is, but yeah, if you watch the conscious part, you're getting that and you understand that there's a specific meaning there. Then there's the unconscious part where I don't think he necessarily knows exactly what it means, but it means something, and you get that. You're watching it going, this means something, and then you get that part that's just bullshit. Yeah. It doesn't mean a damn thing. But because there's meaning and potential meaning, when you see the bullshit, you're like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I think he's one of those guys, and I don't think he does it necessarily on purpose. I think he has all of those aspects in it, and it draws you in. You brought up The Room,
Yeah.
Like, there's none of that shit in there.
Yeah,
Like that's where he tries.
Yeah.
What's his name tries to make meaning, and it's just melodramatic and dumb, and like a hot naked girl.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's ridiculous. But I think that's the thing about the David Lynch stuff, is that you find there's meaning, there's clear meaning, then there's stuff that's probably meaningful and you're not quite getting it, but it draws you in,
and that fools you into thinking that third category
the bullshit actually has some meaning. You're like, the rest of it has meaning, this must have meaning.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
So that's why everybody's like, did you watch that episode? It's the most brilliant thing ever.
Everything was backward and they were in the red room. Shut up. Shut up.
I was talking about it with my daughter. We were talking about that in the room, and like, granted, I've never actually seen The Room, so I don't know. But I know
I thought you had seen The Room. I thought you said you had seen it. Oh, I can't wait.
But I mean, you know the story, like, you know.
Do you know the story?
Yeah, The Room, like, yeah.
What's the story?
It's just nonsense. Like, he goes to, like, he's upset about his friend who's getting like sex and all. Like, maybe I don't know the story of The Room, but I know like the mythos around.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a better way to say it, because that was the highway. I knew The Room was a thing. I had no idea what it was about, except that somehow it involved a room. Is the thing. And I think it's because that's the only, they couldn't afford a set, so all they had was a room. And it is literally like, he's supposed to be like a successful businessman, and their room is just a room.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man.
But I was talking to my daughter, and I was like,
I think there were stairs.
Yeah, there was an upstairs.
Yeah,
He comes out.
There was another room upstairs. I'm not sure. Now that we think about it, I don't know which room was the room. Upstairs room was where the sex was going on.
That's the third category.
Yeah.
That's
but
right
the
there.
downstairs room was where all the melodrama was, and then there was stuff on the roof, which is not technically a room, so it couldn't have been that. But I don't know.
Well, it's the biggest room of all.
Yes.
Yes. There's so much room up there.
All the world's a room.
There's so much room
Everything
up there.
takes place in space. You could consider that a room.
So, I was talking to my daughter, and I was saying, like, of course, there's undoubted skill in David Lynch's directing, and
Right.
and clearly, even though the acting was kind of like, it's not what I would be looking for. I mean, that's better than the acting in The Room.
I feel like that is also representative of David Lynch's skill as a director, because it wasn't great acting, but it didn't need to be. Yeah. He created the performances that he needed in almost very short, sort of like, just look over there, like, look like this, like, furrow your brow, like, say this line. I mean, if you think about the dialogue,
stare at him for 15 minutes and smile.
Yeah. If you think about the dialogue, there was very little of it. The father had the most dialogue.
Like, look at my knees.
Exactly. Like, that was all the dialogue. Actually, the mother probably, there's a baby, and you're going to take care of it.
Let me nuzzle you a little bit.
Oh, he's carving quails. I
don't think it's changed my opinion.
I need the riff track guys to do Eraserhead, man. I don't know why. They must have done that.
Maybe the rights are just...
Maybe they're afraid to do it.
Well, I mean, David Lynch is
a beloved cult film, and they're making fun of it. Like, that's the sexiest oozing quail I've ever seen.
It's dancing. No, I don't think it's changed my opinion of the movie. I'm not gonna like. I still don't think I liked it, but I can appreciate it a little bit more than.
But that's my thing. I almost have this desire to see it again, to see if I can figure out the shit.
It's like the mystery. It's the mystery.
It's like a puzzle. But then there's a side of me going, the
problem is, it's not one puzzle, it's 4 puzzles mixed together, and you're like, some of them are missing pieces.
It's an enigma wrapped in a puzzle, wrapped in a pizza roll. But this is the thing, I'm like, I kind of want to see it again, and then I'm just like, I'm being manipulated, and I don't like that. It's not happening.
I'm going to do it on principle.
Yeah. You can't do that to me, David Lynch, you son of a bitch.
I watched. I've been watching Dead Boy Detectives.
Oh, how's that?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I really want to see that, but we're so like locked into the K-dramas. She's like, "What are we gonna watch next?" I'm like, "I don't know, white people." And she's like, "No, not happening."
Can I watch something in English, please?
Exactly. Can I watch something I don't have to read? I love to read, but this isn't working for me.
No,
it is, but it's working for me. I love those shows. They're a ton of fun. It's all like my wife is like, she there's a streaming service that's just K-dramas. Like it's all K-dramas. And she said I got the 2-week free like thing so that we could watch Healer, which is a show with two of our favorite K-drama stars. Okay. Park Min-young and Ji Chang-wook, I think his name is.
You nailed it.
Yeah. I so nailed it. And I was like, I was like, cool, but she was like going through it and finding stuff and watching it, and I'm like, I walked through the room and she's watching this thing that looks kind of funny. I'm like, is this a rom-com show? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you can watch the first episode and then you have to save it for me. Sure. You can't watch the whole thing. And she's like, what? And I'm like, look, you got this whole streaming service. I want you to go through there, and if it's a rom-com or if it's this or if it's that, I want you to save it for me. If it's sad or tragic or boring or stupid, you can watch that shit. That's for you. You just watch all of that. You save the good stuff for me. And she's just like, that's cool. Like that's a good idea. But
meanwhile, you're upstairs watching like Doom.
Yeah. I'm watching Delicious in Dungeon. Yeah. She's like, what are you doing up there? Folding laundry.
You've been over there 18 hours.
Don't come up here.
Don't judge me.
So, I mean, the K-dramas are very good with the rom-com stuff for TV series.
Yeah.
And I will tell you.
Take your.
I know you're not going to watch it because you got to read stuff and you hate that. Some of it's dubbed probably, but so we finished watching Dr. Slump, which is a Netflix K-drama.
What is Dr. Slump?
Dr. Slump is about these two high school rivals. A hot girl and a handsome young man.
Okay.
And they're the best students in Korea. Like they have apparently a test, and these are the only two folks that aced it. Now she's from a small town. She's from Busan.
Where the train
is. Yeah, where the train famously came from, where all the zombies were. And
I thought it was Train to Busan. Isn't it Train?
It is Train to Busan, right? Yeah. So the zombies probably started in Seoul and was on its way to Busan. But so she's from Busan. She's their top student. She's able to get transferred to Seoul because they have better schools, and she studies all the time. That's all she does. She eats instant coffee packets dry. Like she doesn't.
That's ridiculous.
Like when she gets to the school, he's the top student. Like there's no competition, and then she shows up and she's like eating peppers in class to keep herself awake so she can just keep studying. Like she's obsessed with studying all the time, and she's like coffee packets. So the first time she's there,
she got your black tea.
Yeah, exactly. The first time she's there, they have a big test, and she beats him. She's number one in the class, and he like passes out from the shock of it and stuff. So it becomes this thing where they're rivals. They're challenging, so they hate each other. Like they're always fighting with each other and
I know where this ends.
Yeah.
This ends up with some sexy time.
This ends up in love.
Of course.
Yeah. So
if it wasn't a K-drama, there'd be some fucking.
Well, no, there was. Oh. Yeah, no, but not like you got to see it or anything. These are very fairly like.
Of course, it's K-drama.
Sexless. Yeah. But they both end up going to medical school. He goes to the Harvard of Korea because she gets sick and messes up the final test or something like that. So he gets ahead. He becomes a famous plastic surgeon. She becomes an anesthesiologist. But he gets framed for the death of a patient. She's this heiress from Macau, and some guys sneak into his operation room and put anti-clotting agent, whatever warfarin. I don't remember what they call those. In her medication. Anticoagulants into her medication.
Yeah, I know stuff.
Yeah, you do know stuff. Not stuff I want to know, but that's cool.
Yeah, it's either that or Christy Swanson.
Christy Swanson. No, I remembered Christy Swanson too. I know things.
I didn't.
I know things.
That's why this is the trade-off.
Yeah, exactly. We play off each other. But she ends up she's having plastic surgery and she bleeds out in the operating room, and he's blamed for this, and he has to end up selling all of his shit and to pay for the compensation, and then he's on trial for it. So he moves into the room on her roof that's cheap because he has no money because he had to pay all this compensation stuff. In the meantime, she's an anesthesiologist, but her boss has stolen her work, and she's being sort of bullied by her superior, and she's she's fallen into a depression, and she passes out in the street and almost gets hit by a truck, and just decides, you know what, I'm quitting. So she quits her job, kicks the asshole boss in the knee, and just leaves. So now she's got a bad reputation and she can't get a job. So, you know, he's under indictment for potentially killing his patient, and she
and
can't
this
get
is a
hired.
rom-com, you say?
Well, he lives on the roof, and they had this history in high school, and when they see each other, like, holy shit, like, what are you doing here? But because they're both in similar circumstances, they start hanging out together, and love blooms.
Of course.
And they start supporting, because one of the things is she doesn't believe for a second that he did this. Like, all of his friends have abandoned him. They blame him for this. They said, you did it. And she's like, you would never do that. It's ridiculous. Not for 1 second does she believe it. So he starts to lean on her. She starts to lean on him. They're very attractive people. That's
Lots
always
of leaning.
fun. There's
Some horizontal leaning.
No, only in the second to the last episode, there's finally some horizontal leaning. So, you know, they fall in love. It all gets resolved. You find out that he didn't do anything. His anesthesiologist was blamed for a mistake by the surgeon. So now, whenever he works at a new place, he hides spy cameras everywhere to record everything, so that he doesn't get blamed for anything again. So when this death happens, he has six spy cameras that are showing that people snuck into the place and did this all. So it all works out for that.
Of course.
Yeah. Fortunately, and
then he promptly gets canned so she can be the guy's in anesthesia.
No, he stops working for the. But yeah, the guy who is blamed for the death has PTSD from her dying, like her bleeding out. He can't stop it, and so every time he grabs a scalpel, he starts to freak out a little bit. And so she shows up to help him by being his anesthesiologist.
Right.
Obviously, a little contrived that she's an anesthesiologist just when he needs somebody in the operating room to help him. But I was fine with it. They gave us a happy ending.
Happy endings are good.
They in the scenes from the next to the last episode, they made it seem like she was going to end up having to go to America for 6 months to learn something, and they were going to be separated, and they were like, are they going to break them up? You know, third act breakup in the end. That's some bullshit. But they didn't do it. They were just faking us. So it's cool.
Well,
you will watch 0 minutes of this. I know.
0 minutes.
I look forward to discussing it after you watch 0 minutes.
But I did. The other thing about Psych to do the rom-com thing. They've gotten
Jules and Sean together.
Yeah, Jules and Sean are together.
Some of that was like bullshit because they created like breakup tension and various things for no reason. I'm just like, it's so stupid. Come on, man.
So I'm hoping, and I don't know if this will actually be the case, but I'm guessing that it'll be the case where they end up together. Like I'm hoping it's not one of these things where they're like, we have to break them up because the tension was always better than them together. You know, that kind of thing.
I can't remember how it ended up. Yeah. You're on season 6.
Season 6.
And now they're starting to get together.
They got together at the end of season 5.
Okay, so you got 2 more seasons of them being together,
right? Be, you know, she puts up with a lot of stuff, and Sean is like, he's an ass. He's an ass.
He is a total ass.
He's an ass. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. But yes, Dead Boy Detectives is pretty good. The visuals are really interesting and exciting, and
thanks for reminding me. Now when my wife is like, "What do you want to watch tonight?" I'll be like, "Dead Boy Detectives."
Yeah.
Fuck your K-dramas. And I said.
There's a little bit of that, like, did this really just happen? Like, wow, that's crazy. Like,
yeah. Well, they're dead boys.
Yeah,
and they're detectives.
They are.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a complicated sort of occupation, really.
Yeah, one of their because it's also a mystery of the week kind of thing where they're trying to solve a mystery while they're also trying to avoid stuff. But like, of course, the people in hell. Or the people in the afterlife are trying to track them down.
Sure.
But
you can have dead boys just running around, man.
Well, it's funny because they're like, apparently the conceit, and I don't know if this is from the comic books or whatever, but the conceit is that there was never supposed to be this many humans. Like there was never, so the afterlife is a mess. Like there's no way to keep track of all the people who are dead. So like there's this bureaucracy and like people fall through the cracks all the time. And so there's a little bit of that where they've got the bureaucratics of the afterlife who are coming after him. And Yeah, she ends up getting kicked into this sea monster, and there's an episode where she's in the belly of this sea monster with this other guy, and like there's some like legitimately wacky shit happening in this show, which is fun. Like it's I'm okay with that.
Maybe I can talk my wife into it. She pulled up like. She said, "Oh, the Beekeeper. Have you seen this?" I'm like, "Who are you talking to?"
Don't you mean the Beequalizer?
Yeah, the Beequalizer. I'm like, you mean the Statham film? And she's like, "Yeah, have you seen it?" I'm like, "Who are you talking to? Like, what are you even saying here?"
We were front row center.
I was like, "Do you want to watch it?" And she's like, "Not today, but maybe." And then like last night, it's 4th of July coming up, and I was like, "Well, we're not doing it. You want to watch The Beekeeper?" No, I don't think so. Let's watch K-dramas. I'm just like, you know what?
At what point are you going to snap and be like, no more K-dramas?
No, I'm fine. I go upstairs and watch stuff, and I'm folding laundry. Don't come up here.
I'm in the third act. So, so I would. We haven't finished Dead Boy Detectives, but we're enjoying it.
Okay,
we're enjoying it.
Well, let's see if I can talk the wife into breaking loose from the K-dramas long enough to watch something additionally. That might have to be something during the Danish diet.
Yes, I wish you good luck on that. Yeah. Anything else you're watching?
I know. I'm missing so much culture.
Yeah. The only other thing I'm watching is The Acolyte, but I'd rather not talk about that.
I took my son to a car show today.
Oh, did you?
In Hampton. And there's a comic book shop there called Bender's. You ever heard of this place? It makes Trilogy look like a mall kiosk.
Oh, good lord.
Oh my god, it has so much stuff. Like I went in there.
Is it organized or is it
No. No, it is kind of, but it still has that element.
I like going into Trilogy every once in a while, but then I'm like, I feel itchy. Like, I feel itchy in here.
No, it is a little bit like that. Like, I went in there and I saw the whole right side wall was just books. Mm-hmm. And so I went over there, and they're almost like comic books. Some of them are in little plastic bags and stuff. And I couldn't quite figure out the organization scheme. I was looking for Robert E. Howard stuff. So I went to the guy at the front and I said, hey, how are these organized? Are they by author? Are they by title? And he's like, what are you looking for? And I said, well, because he said that's historical books, mostly war stuff. This is fiction, this section. And I said, well, okay, the fiction section, author or title? And he's like, like it's not really organized. Yeah, because when I was over there looking, I was like seeing stuff.
They're organized by publication date.
Like there was no rhyme or reason. And he's like, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm looking for Robert E. Howard. And he was like, well, who is that? And I said, Conan. Oh, he's like, oh, okay, come in. And he took me down a side aisle, and there were a stack of boxes, and one of them said Conan. Yeah. And so I pulled it. He's like, I said, can I move, because there were boxes on top of it. I can I move boxes? He said, sure. And I pulled them off, and they had
pushed.
Yeah. And there was a whole. It was almost like the top of a comic book box,
okay.
But it had a row of books. It had several Robert E. Howard paperbacks. There were some of the Conan ones, the L. Sprague de Camp and Lynn Carter ones. Sure. But there was also Solomon Kane. There was also Fritz Lieber, who did.
So you asked how much the whole box would cost?
No, I didn't want all of them because there were some that I just didn't recognize. But I pulled out a stack of them, and I got like $31 worth of books. They were like $5 a piece. There were Conan compilation books in there that online cost me $30.
Really?
That were on. They sold for $5, and they were in better condition.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck! I wish I knew this place was here.
You could be making money.
Would I have been driven to Phoebus to get these books without having to go through that shit? But I was like, I got to bring Pat in here, man. It's like got toys, comics.
Did they have Booster Gold?
I asked him if they had any Funko Pops, and he said, no, I never really got into those. So, yeah, there's no Funko Pops in it.
No Spock.
No, and that's what I was like. This stuff has some of that older stuff.
Yeah.
It could be here, but so there's on the left is all the comics.
I hear
sections.
Trilogy has it.
No, it doesn't. I looked.
If you can find it.
If you can find it. Is it there? Maybe. No, it's not.
That section over there is Funko Pops.
Yeah.
And it's just a pile. It looks like a pile of Funko Pops.
Yeah, but they got all kinds of stuff. They got magazines, like the old. They probably have the old Fangorias and stuff in there, and just sections of.
And it's bigger than Trilogy?
Yes.
Interesting. Because that's a pretty big store. I mean,
it is. Oh, you got to go into this place, man. I mean, it doesn't. On the outside, it looks like.
All right.
Yeah, but you go in and it's just like Trilogy. It's just piles of stuff everywhere. I think it is a little bit more organized than.
And this is in Phoebus, or where is it?
It's in Phoebus, yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm going to take you down there. We'll go to Sly Clyde's and have a cider.
Yeah.
We'll go to
Isn't there a cinema cafe up there?
No, not that I'm aware of. There is one in Hampton, but it's nowhere near Phoebus. Yeah, it's on the other side of town.
Yeah. It's closer to Phoebus than it is to here. So.
True, if that's the way you want to work it.
As the crow flies.
Yeah, if you want to work that out, that's fine.
All right. Any other stuff that you're watching?
Nah, and I know you gotta go.
Yeah. Let's.
What is your family making for dinner? Anything good?
We are having fondue.
Oh, fondue, like
cheese and meat.
Meat is good.
And, apparently
what is that show where they're doing fondue and the oil is just squirting them? They're like, oh. I can't wait for that. That
was, and that stuff gets you hot. Like, man, we'll see. I'm sure there will be some stuff.
You're gonna be like putting it in there. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna stand over here.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh, classic Dame.
Classic Dame talking.
All right. Well, the Dame has spoken, so it is time for us to wrap it up. As always, I've been Patrick.
And I've been Andy.
The doink doink.
And the doink.
Man.
Those beers were good.
Need that as much.
You guys are weird.